this time. Yeah.
One time doing this, and it just does not come off like he's being really professional. I did the work already. What's good? How's everybody? I did not send the request yet. We're talking about something for my landscaping business. I do landscaping as well. And sometimes people don't want to pay.
I will sell now. I've been running running a movement to raise funds to help our brothers and sisters in Texas.
Oh my God. I have to apologize to him now. Oh, that's so sweet. I love when people are doing like real amazing stuff for the world.
That's fine. But where are we moving?
No, it's cool. If he's helping people, Texas is going through something really rough right now. I definitely want my money, but if he's actually spending his time helping people more fortunate than me, I'm happy with that, but still pay me. Still give me my money. Isn't that what everyone tells me that my crime is that I'm too nice? So everyone said. He's still going to pay me, though. It's too nice if I'm not going to get paid. It's not too nice if I'm still demanding that I get paid. You know, it's not like I'm saying, oh, you're helping people in Texas? You don't have to pay me at all now. I'm saying, okay, you're helping people in Texas? Well, wrap up what you're doing in Texas. And then I'm here in New Jersey, and I need that money. You know? That's exactly what I said. What's good, Linda? How's everything? Waiting for her to connect. Your camera seems off, but your microphone is on. Your mic and your camera's on. I think your camera's just darker. You got it facing the wrong way. Maybe there's something wrong with my volume.
Should I still send the request?
I would probably wait until after that. If he doesn't send it by after this, then I would send the request. If he sends it before, then he's a good guy. If not, then I just got really good business ethic. What's up, Linda? How you doing?
Hello, how are you?
Good. I cannot see your camera.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I covered it because of the government. Let me uncover it. There you go. The government can see inside your camera. So I put a piece of tape on it. There you go. Hello.
Hey, how you doing? Erica, how you doing?
I am good, thank you.
God bless. You look like you just got back from church. You're looking nice.
Yes, thank you.
Was there a good sermon today?
Oh my goodness, yes.
What was it about?
Pastor preached on quitting is not in my DNA.
That's actually something I was thinking about this whole weekend. I like what else did he saying about it?
He came from the scripture in Galatians.
Yeah.
Where Paul was talking to the church of Galatia, and he was telling them that if you faint not, you will reap a harvest.
Yeah.
And so he was just talking about no matter, if you've been through trauma, no matter what comes your way, no matter what is thrown your way, God's already put inside of you the ability to overcome that thing. You're not a quitter. He's put the non-quit spirit on the inside of you. So you don't get to throw in the towel. You don't get to walk away. He's giving you the ability to keep moving and to keep going. And so, yeah, it was a really good sermon today.
That's really powerful. I was thinking about that literally this entire weekend, and it's amazing that was the sermon that you had today. Is that I noticed that the people that achieve great success or they achieve great wealth, they just didn't quit. Whatever failure they had, they learned from it. Whatever setback they had, they found another way to kind of maneuver around it. But whatever it was, that if you got 100 people in line, 50 people quit during the first turmoil, the first time things get hard, you got another 25 quit once they don't have the money to do something, or they don't feel like doing something, they don't have the money. You got a very small percentage of people that make it to the very, very top. And that's exactly what it is. If you don't quit, that is the only way to reap any benefits from what you do. Because as soon as you quit, it's literally, from my experience, whenever I wanted to quit something, I do snow removal. So that's like my focus for now. There was like a giant wall of ice basically, but I wasn't getting paid for this, but I have the company and I do snow removal. So I'm walking to the gas station. I see you can't get to the bus stop. The whole street, no one plowed it. No one shoveled it. There's a wall of ice between the street and between people that have to get on the bus. So I'm sitting there trying to bust through this wall of ice, My body hurts. I'm exhausted at this point. My shoulders hurt. I almost broke my shovel. I started kicking that thing with my foot. I brought the wall down. It was like right when I wanted to quit, I was like, man, you got to put this MMA classes to work. You got to do something with these UFC skills you got. I kicked down the wall of ice. I walked right over. I never felt better. But had I quit and I walked away and went home, I would have never experienced that feeling of accomplishment of tearing down that wall and getting through to the other side. I feel like a lot of people quit way too early and they never really get to experience. You get material benefits when you don't quit, yeah, but it's like the spiritual benefits of it, building the person that you are, building your own character by persisting and by keep going through. I feel like that's something that a lot of people will never be able to enjoy in their life. I think that's why a lot of people try to naysay. A lot of people try to get you to quit something. They try to get you to be on their negative level because they've never experienced that feeling of I wanted to give up so badly and I overcame it, you know? How you doing, Linda?
Tired.
Were you saving the homeless? Linda feeds the homeless. She does a lot of volunteer work.
I just got back in 1 o'clock this morning from
God bless it.
station.
God bless it. God bless it.
And then I was out there chipping away at the ice because they put all the snow back in my driveway and I couldn't get my car out. So
yeah, I'm tired. I'm like, it's gonna snow one more time on March 2nd. I'm tired of it already.
oh, but isn't it gonna snow tomorrow or tomorrow's just light?
Tomorrow it's supposed to, I was looking at the weather report for the week. It's supposed to be like slushy because we're in Jersey. I think Erica's down south, but up here in
I'm
Jersey.
in Colorado.
Oh,
That's snow over there too.
I think you told me that before, and I told you I had to visit you then. I'm telling you now, I might have to come visit Colorado. I got that good legalized out there, so I can't.
Yes. The original state to start it off.
Word. Colorado gets pretty bad snow too, though, doesn't it?
That's a misconception.
Yeah.
Really?
Like if I went out it snowed last night, it's gone. It's 40 degrees today. So
look at already.
What people forget is we have the mountains. So the way that Denver, where I live, way that is set up is you got the mountains and it's like a big, huge soup bowl, right? Mm-hmm. And we're at the bottom of the soup bowl. So if it don't get over the mountains,
it can't get to y'all.
Or we'll get very little. So when you see them massive snow blizzards and they would talk about 12 feet of snow, that's them people that's high up.
Oh man.
That's getting hit like that. Now, if the weather happens to come in southwest, then that's when we get the blizzard conditions. But unlike New York, y'all have snow and it's there the whole winter. Like I said, if I took you outside right now, you'd be mad because our snow is gone. Sun came out, it's gone.
If you took me outside and there was no snow where you at, last thing I was gonna be is not.
I mean, it's like, yeah. So that's like we can have a blizzard and the snow be gone in like 2 days. So it stays in the mountains, but it doesn't stay with us in the city like it does you guys.
We still got the same snow from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, same.
I know because I shoveled it. It's still there, staring at me.
So.
All right, let's refocus and re-switch. We didn't come here to talk about snow. Even though I think you do high key, I think you are published by Author Snow. If I'm correct. That's pretty wavy. I had to make that connection real quick. But we're all authors here, you know? I'm an author. I got about 7 books out. You have many books out, Arica. And Linda, this year, I'm working with her, but I also want her to do everything herself because that's just the type of person I am. I'm sorry, Linda. So I don't want to charge you. So if I don't charge you, you got to do all the work. I can mentor you and I can hold your hand, but I think being self-published isn't that hard. But working with a publisher, what is it that being with a publisher gives you that you feel like you can't do? I'm not like that you necessarily can't do on your own, but what are the added benefits that you feel working with a publisher?
Well, so I work with author Synovia and Alexander, author Snow, and she does ebook.
Yeah.
And so all of my books are in with her in ebook format, but then I'm able to take that and turn it into print for myself and sell them in print. The thing that I love about working with her, and I can't say everybody has this experience, but one, I don't have to self-edit my books. I mean, I do, before I send them in. I do not send in just
I
junk. I don't do
night
that.
was good, y'all.
Right? I don't do just that. But she has an editing team that goes through and edits my book and makes those additional those things. For example, right now I'm on a budget, so I have Grammarly, but I just have the basics. So it only does the basic stuff, where her editors have the full version, so they're able to correct the way something is worded, all of that, and then they send it back to me, and I'm able to read the book and go, yes. Or if I see something that I might have missed, because I get to reread the book, I will find stuff sometimes that maybe I left out a couple words in a sentence. And so I can fix it and then I send it back. So that's the one thing that I love about it. The second thing about it is that the CEO, the amazing Michael Horn, does all my covers, and my covers are always phenomenal. And so that's the other benefit. I don't have to try to create my own covers, and I don't have to go pay somebody else to do it. It's part of being a part of that publishing company. And so, and when it comes to the cover design, Mike is very open. Like he always tells me, you always send me more than enough information, because I will send him character descriptions, the synopsis, if an idea of kind of what I think the cover should look like. And then he's able to take all that I give him and just, man, I mean, every cover he has ever done for me has popped. Every time he sends me a cover, I'm like, I'm marrying you, your girlfriend, your cat, your dog. Who else I got to marry? Because he just always does a phenomenal job. So for me, and then the other thing is, with Synovia, she is a teacher as well. So you don't just write a book. She gives you tools to help you. She will do little group sessions where she'll talk about, certain things of how to lay your book out, how to write it. When you get stuck, you can call on her. Like I'm working on my next book, and I got stuck with how to transition from one place to the other, and I sent it to her, and we did a video call, and she just gave me like a wealth of ideas that kind of unlocked my brain, and I was able to. So I can't say that all publishers are like that, but with her, that's who she is. She wants you to be successful. She's been in the writing game for forever. She got over, I think, 40 something books. So she's been on the author end for a long time. So she knows, she keeps her ear to the ground too. That's the other thing. She keeps her ear to the ground, and she'll come in the group and be like, yo, this is what's selling right now. Y'all need to write a story that's popping like this. You know what I'm saying? Or different things like that. And so she always keeps us abreast to what's happening. and what's going on and what we need to do to better ourselves and things like that. So that's why I love being with her. And like I said, it's just the ebook side. But what that does is when I do the ebook and it's all good and done, it's very easy just to transfer that right on over to the print side for myself. And I just, let Mike know, hey, I need a full cover now. And he does the complete full cover for the book. And then I upload the book, and there you go. So it's a win-win kind of situation for me, and I know some people don't, a lot of people think when you think going with a publisher, it's got to be this major publishing house. It doesn't have to be a major publishing house, but it's good. And it's good too, because you're with a group of other authors. And so you guys push and challenge each other. Like, we'll go into our author group and be like, hey, I feel like doing a writing sprint today. And they'll be like, yeah, let's do it. And then we'll start at a certain time and we'll write for 2 hours. And then we have to check in and say, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at, kind of stuff. So we keep each other challenged. We support and promote each other's books when they drop. I'm going to be having surgery here on Tuesday and going to be down for a while. So I got lots of new books from my authors, as well as some of the other authors that I enjoy, that I'll be reading and hitting them reviews, because I don't read a book and not leave a review.
Absolutely.
And what people need to understand, it's the reviews that really help an author. It really, really is the reviews. Like, I don't care if I ever become an Amazon bestselling author, but if I got 9, 10, 20 5-star reviews on my book, we doing something. And so it's the reviews that really help us, that keep you motivated as an author. Because when I go and I pull up my book and I see, like my first release of this year, he broke my heart. I broke his pockets. Has
That's the book I met you with. I read the premise for that book and I was like, oh shit.
And so when I go and I pull it up and I see that it's got 8 5-star reviews, I've been writing since 2015. That is the first book that has gotten reviews like that. And so that lets me know, girl, you're growing. You're doing it. Don't stop. Keep going it. Keep doing it. You're growing. You're getting better. You're getting better. People are starting to get you. So don't stop,
Word. I dig it. I would first say that I am Ursula Dorset. I am a best-selling author for a few different books. And I have to do everything. I didn't have to, but I voluntarily went the full self-publishing route. I taught myself every element of publishing, from the back end to the front end, marketing, advertising. And I'm at the point where I kind of want to work with a publisher. I'm at the point where I either have to make like an official LLC and start a publishing house, because I built the team for it. I built the resources for it. I have the editors in place. I have the graphic designers in place, and I have a good mind for it. But having been a self-published author, I like the point that you said, that she also educates you, because I feel like a lot of it is stuff, it's stuff that you can very easily do on your own. It isn't stuff that you can do easily on your own and be successful at it. And that's kind of like the turning point that I'm at now. My very first book, Older Woman, my second book, New Girl, they didn't really get received very well because I didn't have any mindset for titling back then. So when you name a book, New Girl, they have like 1,000 or 0 different ideas in mind. My latest book, For the Crown of Nine, it gives a more high fantasy type of a feel. The cover gives a different type of appeal. So it's definitely, I wish I would have had those benefits when I first got started, about around the same time you did, around 2014, 2015. But what I had to do kind of on my own was I had to go back and revise books. So I had a book that came out called Best Friends. I knew it was my magnum opus. Like, I knew this book was incredible because it was real to myself. It touched on a lot of fantasy points. It touched on a lot of issues and relationships and romance that people go through. You write about that as well. But it was just like, it was a really good book for college students, a really good book for high school students. But it's like when it first got released, it wasn't finished. And since I was the only person looking at it, I was the only person editing it, I was the only person really reading it, there was no way for the book to really get finished. So it came out 2017, and I had to take another 2 years to come back in the process, edit it, work on it, make a new cover for it. And now it's an international bestseller. So I think if you can avoid that process to begin with by having, you got a whole team around you of other authors that you're working with. And I feel like that really changes the entire game. I think she just dipped out. How you feeling, Linda?
Good.
Good. What are your mindsets on it? You're about to be writing your first book. I went the self-publishing route for about 5 to 7 years now. Here she is, she's back. Eric has been working with a publisher for quite a while. And I've given you some guidance on how to like get your book out there and get published. I know I didn't really do the best job in getting it finished because the book's not done yet from my knowledge. What are some of the takeaways that you're getting from that as to how you want to go about things with your first book?
I definitely want to work with a team.
Word.
Especially editing, because I know grammar is not my strength. My content is good, but the grammar part is not my strength. I think everything's fine. It's fine. But I know maybe, fresh set of eyes and someone who knows grammar better than I do is what I need. So I think for me personally, working with a team to assist is the route I want to take, because I definitely don't want to feel those feelings of overwhelm where you got to be the editor and figure this out. Like I have a general sense of idea, or I could like teach myself how to do marketing or advertisement, et cetera. But I just don't want to feel like I have to do every piece of it, especially if I know that this is my weakness in that area, like let's say in terms of editing.
I feel like, because I did it, you're making a great point. I first say that. But I would say I'm happy that I did it on my own for a while, because you do get stressed out. You do very much get overwhelmed. And you're constantly going to face this kind of time depletion that you have to write the book first and foremost. And that's your primary job as the author. You just got to write the book. Right. So someone else edited it, someone else marketed it for you, someone else creates the cover for you. You get to stay in that zone, in that mode of an author, and just focus on improving and writing. For me, I was really thankful for the path I took, because I started hiring other people for a lot of stuff. Things that I knew I could do on my own, but I just did not feel like it, like editing, I would hire somebody for. Things that I could never do on my own, that I've been trying to do by myself and I'm just not good at, like graphic design. I have about 15 different graphic designers that I work with now, that whenever I'm ready, whenever I need something done, they're right there, Johnny on the spot. Right. It changed things a lot, and I feel like that's what gave me back some sense of freaking sanity as well. But it's a little bit more pricey. Arica says that she does not pay for anything up front, and that's good. I know a few different publishers, and it's really hard on the other side too when you're a publisher, from their perspective rather, and it's expensive, So building a team around you, I would suggest query the book to someone who's going to give you a little bit more time and attention. If you want to work with someone like me, I got the team, I already got the resources, but I definitely don't have the time that other people might have to really just sit down and do writing sprints with you and things of such of that nature. I would definitely talk to authors. No, there's a lot of different authors in the group that you joined up with, a lot of different publishers as well. But I would say you need to have a good grasp of yourself too. When you're hiring when I was hiring graphic designers for the first time, there were some designers that were very professional, that really knew what they're, like you were talking about with Matthew Horn, very professional, already know what they're doing. There were others that had no idea, and they're relying upon me to direct the entire project for them. That's not what I'm hiring you for. If I'm hiring somebody, I want them to just do what I paid you for. You know, I'm not, if I was paying myself for it, then yeah, I would be the expert. If I'm not paying myself for it, then bring something to the table worthwhile. But it taught me how to distinguish, especially dealing with people that do websites. Having that background and knowing computer design changes a lot. You know what you're looking for. You also know how long it takes for projects to get done. You know what the kind of stuff that you're looking for a little differently. But still, I've reached a point where it's like, I want to query some books. I would like to work with Penguin. I would like to work with HarperCollins, because you don't need a giant publishing company with you, but it does. I feel like there's one person that was talking to me about when she started her publishing company. She introduced her books to a few friends, and they just dropped the book immediately and said, I don't read self-published books. When someone sees that it's you or it's a vanity press that's like making the book for you, they don't read it. When they see a more official title or more official publishing company working with you, when they see HarperCollins, when they see the Penguin, when they see that you won some awards for it, it changes things. But I feel like it also locks you back in a box, because with some of those publishing companies, they don't do your marketing for you. So you still end up at the very same point of needing to advertise by yourself, needing to promote yourself, needing to market yourself. And then for me, it's like, if you're just going to do the cover and get me an editor, I already know about 4 or 5 other, there's a lot of editors out there that I can just hire and get things done. So that was my mentality on it. I just knew that I had the mindset that I could do things by myself. I did not want too many people messing with my books before they were released. So I just did the self thing for a while, and I learned everything. You know, there's still a lot that other people do. I still take other people. I'm taking someone's master course now on Monday. Tamira Rashid has made like a marketing and advertising master course. I guess I'll put the link down in the description of the YouTube video when this is over. So just keep learning too. And I didn't want to feel dependent upon anybody. That's not, other people don't. I hear some great things about publishers. I hear some weird stories about publishers, but just focus a bit more on it. You look extremely tired. Yeah, you. Yeah, you. I can't hear you.
Oh yeah, I said I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get kicked off once it hits the 40-minute point. So don't be, this isn't gonna go on forever. So if you need to go make yourself a cup of coffee to get through the next 20, 30 minutes or so,
I'm looking at you.
I dig it. Arica, you have any ideas or thoughts?
As far as
Anything, the publishing process, your experiences with publishers. What is your new book about?
So the newest book that just dropped is Just Talk to Me. Mm-hmm. And actually, I wrote that book originally. That was the first book that I ever wrote as an author. And I love the story, but I've grown. And so I felt like the book needed to grow. And so I revised it, ramped it up some more, added some new, some new twists, some new turns and different things like that in the book. And it's actually going to be a series. So there are, I think 3 or 4 more books that will be coming with that. And I love that book because I struggled with the whole urban fiction, urban romance genre. We talked about this. And at the beginning, I struggled because when you hear urban fiction, people automatically think guns, drugs, sex,
just a little
thugs, Like
Depravity. They think depravity of Black people. They think
That's
a bunch
what-
of Black negative stereotypes.
that's what people automatically think. And granted, as we talked about that, a lot of urban fiction books are written like that. But a lot of the people who write those books lived those experiences. That's why they're so good. Because I've read some of them and I'm like, dang, this needs to be a movie for real. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it's because they're writing out of their experience. Because a lot of urban fiction writers came from the streets, did the drugs, been in prison, all of that kind of stuff. So they really know how to dig down and pull those stories out because that's where they come from. Well, I don't come from that background. And so I was like, how do I even fit into this whole urban fiction? And then when you think urban romance, people think erotica.
Yeah.
Right?
Those are two separate categories.
And they're two separate things, but people's minds go to this erotica thing. And I'm like, no, that's not urban romance. Urban romance is about the Black experience of love. That's what urban romance is, right? And so Just Talk to Me is my first urban romance book. So there's like no sex in that book at all. There's imaginative moments, but there's no actual like sexual scenes, anything like that, because it's dealing with communication and relationship.
Word.
It's dealing with Black love. And so a lot of my books are like that, you know. I do have one book, which was my first urban fiction book that I wrote, which is called Beauty and the Streets, A Twisted Sister's Tale. And it's actually a testimony. It's the story of a woman who shared her testimony with me. The book is written very raw, very detailed, very explicit. It is a rated M for mature. Just gonna say that. It's not a book everybody want to read, but it's based off of, she allowed me to use her story to write my story. And it was a challenge for me to write that book. My publisher, Author Snow, she had to work with me to get me to write that book because I struggled with, what are people going to think? Here I am, an ordained minister, a child of God, and I'm writing something like this, right? And I struggled. And it wasn't until I was talking to my mom, who's a pastor, and she said, listen, she said, writing is what you do. It is not who you are. And if people don't know the difference, they don't know you at all. Write the book. And that freed me to write that book. And it ended up being, to me, an amazing story. And so it's got, sorry, grandson. It's okay.
Now you're in trouble.
It's okay. Granny be done in a minute, okay? I love you.
Yeah, we got about 9 minutes left.
It's an amazing, to me, it's amazing because I went there and I didn't think I could.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? But again,
I know exactly. You raise a lot of points. I know exactly what you mean. Because I went through the exact same thing, that I'm a believer in Christ, I'm a Christian. And it's like, Christians have sex too. I know that Linda's celibate, but Linda has a daughter. Like, when you're married, sex is a part of your relationship. If you're inside a long-term monogamy, it's like there has to be some because there's a lot of false motifs. There's gonna be a false misconception of Colorado. There's a lot of false motifs that Satanists and atheists and agnostic people have over Christianity. They have over believers in Christ, and having believers in any religion, is that they assume that you live a life that's so vastly different than theirs is. The difference is that I'm aware that the things of the world are bad for me. I'm aware that everything outside of my home is a temptation into sin. And I'm not willing to say to me, like, I've been on a crusade lately for a lot of people that I've lost a few friends in the past years from suicide, people underneath 30 that have passed away. And it's like, they didn't need to. If the people in their circle were different, and if it wasn't just about, no, you can take those drugs, it's no problem, but you're spending the same amount of money that you need to build your empire as you spend to get high. That's something that I struggle with as well. You're spending the same amount of time with people to feel some falsified sense of comfort in reality. I don't know, there's just a lot of false perspectives that people have. One of the biggest things being romance, sex, intimacy. And I wrote a book, the same book, Best Friends. And before, the book kind of revolved around the idea of sexuality, about masculine sexuality. But as I grew up and I got a little older, as my views of women changed, I realized, like, I can't just write a book about sexuality. I can't just write a book about this guy struggling with his penis, because no one, you need to get over that eventually. But what is it like when you are a man and you're trying to curb your, for lack of better words, you're trying to curb your dick, you know? What is it like when there's temptation everywhere? Women want to date you, they want to be with you, but you're at a point within yourself, because we think about it as just sex is precious to women. Sex is precious to man and woman. You shouldn't be a man who's willing to just have one night stands either, because that means you have no value of yourself. You shouldn't be a man willing to have sex with a woman or sleep with a woman who doesn't care about your soul. She doesn't care about meeting your parents. She doesn't want to marry. I was with some women, they had no future plan for me whatsoever, but they had no issue hopping in bed with me. Yeah, I could think about, oh, what does it say about me? What does it say about me as a guy that I'm with a woman who does not care? All she wants from me is sex. That's it. And anything else other than, she doesn't care what I think. She doesn't care what I feel. She doesn't care whether or not I ate. She just cares, hey, you free? And I run to her. That's stupid. And it's like, we have this mark for men. So the character is kind of dealing with that struggle that, yeah, like, I'm in a relationship and I'm trying to make my relationship work. He's in a very toxic relationship though. So it's kind of the other mark of, you're with someone that you really should not be with, but when is the right time to leave? Because that's something that someone asked today. They tagged me in something asking about domestic violence and when do they leave the relationship. If he's physically killing you, if you fear for your life, you need to call the cops on him, you need to leave. If you guys are arguing all the time and that reaches a point where both of you are putting your hands on each other, you two need therapy first. You two both need to go to counseling. You both need to go to therapy. You guys need to go to individual counseling. You guys also need to go to couples counseling. You guys need to figure out what the hell happened in your childhood, whatever the hell happened with your parents. You don't got to be responsible for fixing each other, because if your life's in, well, I'm getting to a lot of different points at once, I'm sorry. But just basically that perspective of, from a man's perspective of love, a man's perspective of romance, how do I deal with that? And I just went through the book and I took all the curses out of it. I took every single reference to a curse out of the book. There's like one sex scene in it now, but it's a pure book about, I call it the philosophical romance book, because it really questions love in itself. It really questions the mentality that people have in relationships, that he's struggling in his relationship. And instead of people giving him advice, instead of people helping him or giving his girlfriend advice and helping her, the advice is just, you should break up with her to date me. And that's what we usually get. It's like, okay, well, you're in a bad relationship. And that's why a lot of guys end up in a situation when they're in a cycle of cheating or they're in a cycle of sexuality, because it's the other women out there don't care about you. They don't see you're someone's son. You know, that's not what it is. It's, you're evil. You're a man. You're evil. You're bad. You're everything that's horrible in the world, especially if you're a black man. There is no help. There is no assistance. So I had to write that book. The same thing of romance being, it's not just about sexuality. I have another book like that as well, New Girl, that kind of started originally when I wrote it. I wrote it years ago, like 2012, when I was still in college, 2012, 2013, and it was just a one-off sex scene. But then again, as I developed as a man, as I grew up a little bit more, as my perspectives of relationships changed, I asked myself the question, who is this girl that he's having sex with? This is my protagonist. This is my main character of all my books. Why is he, and it turned into, it went from being like maybe 5 pages of her getting a job in a strip club and then meeting the owner and falling in love. And it's turned into this really phenomenal story of going into modern religion, going into the perception that a lot of people have and the struggles of coming to the cross, going into like the heart of a man once again dealing with lust, dealing with the demons inside of himself, and having a woman in his life that's trying to help him fight those demons, rather than having a woman in your life that's feeding those demons and trying to bring the worst out of you. It's like we have a major crisis that we think is just woman facing abuse. We think it's just women facing domestic abuse and issues like that. But we have issues with people that were not raised to be in relationships, period. We have an issue right now with people, male or female, that whatever they saw growing up with their parents, or their parents being divorced, or one parent not being in the picture, or both parents not being in the picture, we're picking up some very dramatic, traumatic habits that we bring to our friendships, that we bring to our love life and relationships. So when I revised all of my books, that was something that only I could have really had. I mean, other people see it too, but I mean, as far as within my writing, I feel like I was the only person that was going to see that in my writing and say, you have the potential to address this issue. You don't just have to write more about sex, because eventually people are going to have sex. Great, that's wonderful for them. Beautiful, that's not all of life though. What happens after they have sex? What happens building up to? The best friends is more about the build up to sex. New Girl is more about, we've had sex, now what? I fell in love with you. You have no intentions of being with me. Now where do we go from here? And I just felt like those were things that needed to be not just propagating it, not just putting on more of the stereotypes, but addressing the stereotypes right where they are, staring them dead in the face and saying, what do I do with you? And that was just kind of like, that was my journey. And that's how I had to improve. And then became a bestseller. We got, go ahead.
The great thing about that is everything you just said, everything you talked about it from your experience.
Facts.
Right? Your urban experience, which is why I tell people fiction, urban romance, if you are writing from the urban experience, that's what it is.
Facts.
That's what it is. And so Eric Jerome Dickey, he was an urban
R.I.P. late great.
Love him.
He's
you know, Alice Walker, was an urban experience. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you're writing out of your experience and you happen to be African American, you are writing urban.
So please, how many miles to go? I feel like I'm moving too slow and down. Know how you look through your window. Please tell me, cause I'm tired. I feel like I'm falling apart and it's cold. Won't you open your front door? No. So wait for hours by the phone because I'm hoping you'd call. Look for hours at that portrait hanging over my wall. My perfections that nobody noticed at all. But you don't remember. So please tell me how it feels inside as I look up towards your window. Please don't panic, I'm over the phone. Connections were lost in the storm and I can help you. Won't you help me dry those eyes? So wait for hours by the phone because I'm hoping you'd call. Look for hours at that portrait hanging over my wall. My perfections that nobody noticed at all. But you don't remember my name. Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. So wait for hours to find my peace of mind. Yes, I do. But all I wanted was some of your precious time. At some point, but you never look at me the way I look at you. No, you don't. So watch me stare for hours as I continue to stick like glue. But wait for hours by the phone. stares at that portrait hanging over my wall. The perfections that nobody noticed at all. But you don't remember my name.
All right, I just wanted to wrap things up. We were in the middle of a meeting and we got kicked off. I just wanted to real quick give Arica and give, sorry about that. You're making a really good point. I wanted to give you some time to finish. StreamYard too, because Zoom just, I'm either going to have to start investing in Zoom or I'm going to have to find a different service to use because it just kicks you off.
StreamYard. I use StreamYard.
Word.
Because there's no time limit.
Facts.
And I like StreamYard. You just send people the link and they come in, you bring them on camera, just like you do with Zoom. The other thing with StreamYard is you can, like when I go, you can go live with StreamYard. And so I can go live on my YouTube, on my personal page, and whichever page I'm doing the talk from. So my author page or my Queen to Queen page. And so that's what I invest in, is in StreamYard.
I need a service because StreamYard usually does everything live. I'm not sure if you can just record. I need something.
Yes, you can.
You can? You
can just, because it'll give you the option. It'll pop up with a box that'll say, just, what does it say? It says like just audio, whatever, but you're actually recording
yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can do that without going live as well.
Because this goes on YouTube. It doesn't necessarily go to it goes to Facebook eventually, but I have to add the intro first. I have to add the outro first. There's a commercial break. It's a show, but holy crap, when you have more than two, Zoom's good when you have two people, but anything more than that is just. So I wanted to give you some time to finish because you were making a really great point, and I didn't want to lose the audio for that.
So as I was saying, when you're African American and you're writing,
thank you for coming back.
Out of the urban experience, because that's who you are. So I was saying that, the great late Dr. Reverend Eric Jerome Dickey, rest in peace. He was an urban writer. He was an urban writer. Alice Walker, Color Purple, that was an urban experience. Do you understand what I'm saying? Toni Morrison, urban experiences.
I got beloved.
And even, Zane.
Yeah, that's a major one.
She does a lot of erotica stuff, but it's still urban experience. We all know Sister Soldier, urban experience. And so I had to come to an understanding that when I hear urban fiction, when I hear urban romance, it's not always sex, guns, drugs, prison, killing, and all of that stuff. You're writing out of your experience. So what is my experience was, I come from a trauma background. That's why I started writing. Writing was a way for me to begin to heal as I began to unravel the sexual abuse that happened to me as a child. And I used writing as a way. So Just Talk to Me, my characters are me and some of my friends and our retarded relationships and trying to learn how to understand this relationship and this communication thing, right? But that's my urban experience. And so that's what I feel that people need to understand is urban fiction does not mean what people perceive it to be. There's a lot of urban fiction writers out there. Urban fantasy is the new one that's coming up.
That's where
a lot of people are doing urban fantasy and urban paranormal writing, but they're writing using the African American experience, You know what I'm saying? And so, like one of my pen sisters, Yanni Michaels, her book she just dropped, it's a fantasy book, and the book is hot. Oh my God. I started reading it last night, and I'm like, come on, Disney. Here's your next fantasy book right here, like for real, like, and stuff. And so that's the other thing that I think I like about being with Snovia and Snow Publishing is there is a plethora of different writing styles
Word.
that come out, but we're all writing from the urban experience, our understanding as
From Black experience.
Exactly.
I think that's like my major. I think that's what I said too. That was like my main issue with the title urban fiction, is that it just seems that throughout American history, Black people struggle, African American people struggle to kind of identify ourselves. I don't feel like we came up with the title urban fiction because everything that they utilize for urban refers to Black. I grew up in the suburbs. I don't think I've ever lived in a city before. I don't think in my entire lifetime I've ever lived inside a city. I've lived in a slightly urban environment, but I lived in a suburban section of Newark, New Jersey. I wasn't living on Broad and Market. I was living in West End. So I don't know. That's my only issue with it is the title urban. It's not any of the stuff that's in it. It's none of the context in it. I just wish that we had our own category that implicit more in that, because you got a lot of Black people living down south in the country. You got a lot of people living, I guess, in the mountains or living in suburban areas like I did. And it's like, I struggled for a long time with my success because I didn't really have a genre that, just like in lifetime, I'm only 27 now, but I can say for about 20 of those 27 years, I struggled with this sense of identity, with just feeling that sense of acceptance. Because when you're from the suburbs, you don't have that experience. People struggle to accept you as being Black. People struggle to accept you as being African American. I feel like that's just a larger issue of our trauma living as American citizens rather than having an African identity or a Pan-African identity. But whatever, there's a lot of different shades of Black. There's a lot of different cultures of Black. There's a lot of different Black people living at different economic levels. I just never liked that our experience. I don't like that anything that we go through in this country is encapsulated with the term intercity, anything Black. You think urban and you think Black, where Black people are everywhere. We're in every stage of the game. I even did research lately. Most Black people aren't even poor. It's a very small percentage of Black people who don't have money. So it's like, I just feel like it adds on, not that the books themselves or the authors themselves, because it brings me back to an idea that I found recently, and I guess this will be my last point, and then I'll let Linda get her final, if you guys want to respond to it, you can respond to it as well. But is that I spent a lot of that time living in the world that I wanted to live in. I wasn't necessarily preparing myself to live in the world I was living in. And the reality of the time, which you convinced me with, was that right now in reality, right now in 2021, we have urban fiction. We have the title urban. We haven't reached to a point in the American society and system where they can see us as we are. They refuse to see most Black people as they are, and that's why we have all the issues that we do. Maybe it's a refusal of some Black people to see themselves as they are too, where they could be. I don't really know. I don't really want to get into that because I don't want it to come off the wrong way. But my only issue with it had always been, throughout my entire life, they encapsulate the African and Black experience to being poor, living in the ghetto on welfare, where I knew some people living in Newark, but they live pretty decent lives. I know some people living and they have issues with a parent being home, but they had issues with their parents being together. They don't really have a father that's just gone. They have a father that is not with their mother. It's just the reality of what we go through, I feel like doesn't really get spotlight. I feel like what really gets spotlight is the stereotype. It's the narrative. I know some people do go through, I have a lot of cousins and a lot of family members that go through those situations, that have been in gangs, that have been dealing with drugs and stuff like that. But it's such a small like a small portion, their fathers as well, you know, their mothers as well. You know, when they're raising their kids and they're taking care of their kids, they're not taking care of their kids in this sense of a drug den. You know, it's a very mundane experience sometimes selling weed out of your living room, you know. It's not all that people make it out to be. I don't know. I just felt like, and I wish that the perception and the experience that's given light, even in our movies, even in our TV shows, they don't have shows geared towards Black middle class people living. I guess they have Blackish now to some extent, but it's like, I just feel like there's a blockage in America's perception of Black people that causes a lot more blockage, and it causes a lot more freedom and liberty to express being African, to express being Hebrew or Muslim or Christian or whatever it is. It's like we're being dominated by this perception that is not controlled by Black people. It feels like sometimes that the Black narrative is not controlled by the Black man or the Black woman. It's controlled, just like you said with Disney. You're still at the end of the day, I heard that Nickelodeon picked up Black Sands. You're still at the end of the day going to have to go through some process of a white person editing. And that's why I didn't want a publisher, because I didn't realize there were Black publishers back then I could have worked with. But I felt like I was always going to have to deal with some white person editing my experience and my life, my real life experience as a Black man. I was going to have to deal with some Black dude or some Black woman that grew up in situations that are more akin to socioeconomic struggle than it has anything to do with their skin color, attempting to edit my experience as a Black man. And that's just one of the things with urban fantasy, urban fiction, that it had nothing to do with the books themselves. I just did not want to be categorized or marginalized or withholden into some kind of box, thinking that I have to be from a city and I have to be struggling with poverty to be Black, when those three things have nothing to do with each other. You can live in a city and be very wealthy. You can struggle with poverty, and I have friends that are white that struggle with poverty. You can be Black and you can be a millionaire. You know, I just felt like there was so much of a limitation on it until I met you and I got to speak with you. That like I had struggles just identifying myself as that, because it's like I'm not urban, I'm suburban. You know, I didn't grow up there. My family before that's from the country. So I'm like rural suburban. I don't have a city experience. I've never dealt with any, and I've been ridiculed for it my entire life. But it's like, you should be happy to have someone like me, because I kill all your any stereotype you put in front of me. I kill that shit. So my son just woke up. So if you guys got any final thoughts, I'm about to have that grandson experience too. What's up, Mason? He's watching TV. He's watching Sesame Street. If you guys got any final thoughts, if you got anything you want to respond with, I'm gonna let you guys go back and enjoy your family. Anything from you, Arica?
Well, thank you for having me on and let me be a part of what you're doing and connecting. And hello, handsome.
Say hi. He's like, I didn't know you were doing something over here. He's like, I didn't know you were talking to people. They're doing everything.
But yeah, just thank you again for having me be a part of this. I really enjoyed it, and just looking forward to all of us as authors continuing to drop those books. My goal is to drop a book every month this year. That's my goal I set for myself. So that's what I'm working towards.
You can do it. You can definitely do it. How about you, Linda? Any final thoughts? Learned anything?
I just want to say thank you as well. It was very informative and beneficial in terms of working with a publishing or working with other, to get your book out or just doing it yourself. But I did have a question or a thought, because you're a minister, Arica,
Mm-hmm.
and you was talking about your book. I did wanted to say something, or just, I don't know if I should say it here or just on the side.
if you two want to network with each other afterwards, I mean, you got time if you want to say it now.
No, I was gonna say it was just about what you were saying. Like, yes, I'm practicing celibacy, as you know, but I this, you know, I am a Christian as well. So I think about I take my stance, I take my issue with God. But I also think, okay, when you were talking about the guy, I never heard of a guy saying that how he has to deal with those things you had to deal with in your book.
I deal with a hardcore.
I was thinking, how do you deal?
Piece of meat.
Yes, I was thinking,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
how do you deal with walking in purity? For me, how do you deal with walking in purity? And it's not really because I don't want to do it. I do want to do it, but I know I'm not supposed to do it because I'm not married. But if you never get married, then what? You're not supposed to do what God created for us to do? That's not fair. So I take my issue with God. You see what I'm saying?
I think Arica is going to have a much different perspective on this.
Yeah, like, because I know what the Bible says. I'm a believer. I read the Bible, but I was like, I have an issue with God. We're not supposed to have sex until marriage, but if you didn't present them, and I've been waiting all this time, and I'm getting older, how come I can't enjoy what you created in the context of marriage? And the only reason why I want to get married is so I won't feel shame and guilt for doing it outside of marriage. Even though I already done it, but you know what I'm saying? I've been practicing celibacy for the past 4 years, so it's driving me crazy.
That's hard.
Suppressing this all together. So I don't know, just over it.
I guess I'll respond first, and I'll save the best for last. Let the actual minister finish us off with this. I'd say from a male perspective, just from my own, I took about a year off from dating, from dealing with people in general. And I don't know, I was able to do it first and foremost because I realized that most of these people don't want anything from me. That was really just the most convincing thing for me. The number one thing was that for a man to date, for a man to marry, for a man, we have to jump through so many hoops. We have to accomplish so much that at the end of the day, you can still get left over. So I just spent more time with myself. I spent more time focusing on building my world. And for me personally, that was building my inner man. I knew I could have always had the opportunity to make a lot of money. I would always have the opportunity if I did break up or something to whatever. I would never have the opportunity again to get to know myself as who I really was as a human being if I kept dating like I was. Because it wasn't like I was in one relationship and it was over, and I was dating multiple people at the same time. It was a whole different type of mindset. I had multiple different partners in the same week, so it was just, for me to give it up wasn't that big of a thing because I already had it. I realized that it wasn't for nothing. I was no longer enjoying sex. I was getting to the point where I was no longer having a release most of the time. I wasn't having an orgasm. I'm just doing it for them. They don't give a shit about me. And then I'm seeing all these other people have kids. I have a son now, but I have a son with a woman that I've been friends with for about 11 years now. We've known each other since high school. We built a long relationship outside of sex, outside of just romance. We got to know each other as people. So it's like having a person like that in my corner, checking up on me, dealing with me, wanting to see me become my best self. I didn't have an issue really waiting for her after I took that time to stop sinning and to stop being a gigolo, basically, because at that certain point in time, it's like, if I continue on what I'm doing now, I'm going to catch an STD. I'm going to be stuck on child support for the rest of my life.
Right.
Die. I might mess with the wrong person, make them angry, and now I got somebody else hunting me down. There was one girl, I had no idea that she had a boyfriend. I could have this dude knocking on my door, dealing with me some type of way, or I have to deal with him some type of way. I spend the rest of my life in jail. I felt like once I realized the real life consequences of it, the benefit of sex didn't mean anything anymore.
Right.
So like Marcus Aurelius says, it's a spurt of mucus. You're getting, people go through, again, domestic violence for good sex, and that's not the wave. But men get emotionally and mentally abused just to have a woman in their life. Like, once I started realizing the real life consequences of being in the wrong relationship, waiting for the right person, and more than anything, becoming the right person myself was the biggest thing. So I feel like if I didn't have the prior experience of being treated like a piece of meat, I wouldn't have gotten the self-respect to say, you know, I deserve better than this. I don't need to just be known for my entire issue. Then I was a wrestler, so it's like I don't feel like anyone appreciated me for anything other than what I could do for them physically. It was either, oh, you're handsome, I want to be with you. Oh, you have a lot of money, I want to be with you. Oh, you're really muscular, I want to be with you. Oh, I hear you're really good at sex, I want to be with. It was never, you know what, Daryl Omar Shabazz, you're a great man. It's not, you know what, I really respect your beliefs. It was like, you know what, you have a really strong relationship with God, and I want to get. It was never, they never gave a shit about any of that. And I can tell you, with men, it's even worse. Because it's like I was a step above most men in itself, because I don't buy into the red pill or blue pill philosophy. I'm a gold pill male. I want to build a better future. I want to leave the world better. I'm not just in it for my selfish ambitions and selfish desires. And you're going to face a lot of men that will be with you no matter how bad you are, no matter what you do with them, just because they want a woman in their life. And you have other guys that could have a crown jewel on their crown and they never appreciate it because they look at women like this. They want to look at women the way that they think the way we think we treated women, with the chauvinist, misogynistic, you need to just stay home and be barefoot and pray. They have no real love, appreciation, or respect for women. And once I realized that women were the same way, that made it easy for me to understand why God, wait for someone who cares about you.
Wait for someone who cares, yeah.
Don't just be with someone, because I don't mean that just, oh, he called me because he missed me and he was horny. And I mean, like, they actually, I had the person that changed everything. I didn't even date this girl. I really wanted to date her because I was stuck in a sexual mindset. But it's like, this is right when I turned 21. I'm 26. I'm 27 now. I just turned 27 in December. I was 21. I just started drinking. And she was a very devout Christian at that time. I was not very devout. I converted over. I wasn't really converted. I've always been Christian my entire life through my parents, but I didn't have Jesus or have God personally reach out and pull me into the fold yet. So I was dealing with her and talking to her. I went out drinking with my friends, and before we go out drinking, she's talking to me and going like, oh, I hope that you're safe. Drink a lot of water. Make sure you call me when you get back home. And I'm like, I've never had a woman ever give a shit about me. Like, I've never had a girl say that to me. I got back the next day. I was drunk. I told her that I felt drunk. We were making breakfast and pancakes. She's like, oh, it's great. I wish I could call me. She was just so sweet. She was just so innocent. And I'm just like, I've lost that. Like, I've lost that in myself. So I think my experiences just made it easier for me, because I had a really terrible experience. I had a terrible experience dating. I had a terrible experience having sex. And it's like the idea and concept of marriage made a lot more sense as I got older, because I was dealing with the polar opposite. I was dealing with basically a lot of people do. They go through hell, they go through sin, they go through tribulation, and then they want to turn over to God because they know what darkness is like. And that's basically what it was for me. I got to see what my sister deals with a lot of issues with her father, the fathers of her kids, that they're two fucking deadbeats. You know, and I didn't want to be a fucking deadbeat. I didn't want a woman going through that situation over me. So it's like my personal experiences, my mother's divorce from my father, the relationship, and now my father's 60 saying, I just want my wife back. I just want my wife back. I had my personal experiences. I had experiences of people around me that made me understand this is for everything that a lot of people have issues with God. This is exactly why God set it up this way. And I think if someone doesn't have those vastly negative experiences, sorry, it's my kid, vastly negative experiences like I did, it's hard to understand, why is God making me wait? Why don't I have a partner? Why can't I have sex? But at the end of the day, you can find sex tonight if you really wanted to. But afterwards, what are you going to get out of it? You know? What is he really gonna be able to offer you if he's not willing to take care of your daughter, if he's not willing to fix up the repairs in your home? You have a beautiful home. If he can't fix anything in the house, like, great men are out there that can take care of you, but there's honestly there's a lot of dudes that don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say how to be men, but I would say they don't know how to have relationships with women. And I don't know, I had to learn it the hard way. So Arica, you can take the floor.
I'll have to say that I've not always been celibate, not always practiced celibacy, like most of us. And it's really a personal, it's really a personal struggle, if that makes sense, because everyone struggles with that differently. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody does, all across the board. If you say that you don't struggle with that, you ain't human.
Mm.
You're not human. I think the thing is though, when it is in God the way He intended for it to be, there is a beauty and a strength and a power that comes with that you don't get outside of, because I mean, I like, sex is good. I mean, I've had it. It's good.
Comfortable expressing it, but it's good.
You,
But I,
you know what I'm saying? And so and
Sex
you
is
feel a certain way, and
relationship.
and a lot of those things. But when it is outside of it, I look at it like this: really and truly, when it's outside of what He ordained for it to be, there is always going to be some negative downfall.
Facts.
There's always going to be
but I
some
know
negative
a lot of
downfall. Like you said, either you fall in love with the dude and he don't want to have nothing to do with you. You was just a booty call for him, but now you all caught up and in love and think he's the one, or vice versa, or whatever. Or you get with somebody and you have sex with them, and now they think they own you, but y'all ain't in a relationship.
Facts.
Right. So when it's outside of what He has truly ordained, even when you're in a long-term relationship, but you're not married and you're being sexual with that person, you still have the moments of, is he having sex with somebody else? Or he has those thoughts. Who else is she having sex with? And y'all may be completely platonic, and it's just what I'm saying, it's just you and that person, and you ain't set, but there's always that question and that's with anything in life, anything you do outside of Him, there is always a clear negative element that's waiting there for you. I mean, even in business, if you are in business but you don't have Him as the head of that business, you find that you have all these unnecessary struggles. But when you're in Him, the struggles may come, but He always gives you a way. Somebody will come and say, let me help you do that's what happened to me. I started my own business in 2020, and I'm still working it, crafting it, getting it to where I wanted to be. But I've had so much help that has come to me. And I don't want to say free help, because to me, it wasn't free help. It was freely given, but it was valued help that I received. But it's because I believe He's at the head of what I'm doing. I believe if He wasn't, man, I'd been like, said, forget this. I ain't doing it.
right.
Forget it. Da, da, da. You know what I'm saying? So I think in every area, in every aspect of our life, when He is not the head, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect.
Right.
I'm not saying that He is the head. There's a difference between Him being the Savior of your life and being Lord of your life. And I'll be the first one to say He ain't quite Lord of Arica's life yet. Arica's still struggling with that, because there's some things Arica don't want to give up that she got to give up. You know what I'm saying? I'm not perfect, but I'm striving every day to allow Him to be more and more, to become the Lord of my life, not just the Savior of my life. And so in that, all of those things, the sex, the money, do I do this? Do I go here? Do that? All of that goes back to where you are in your relationship with him. You know, and if you and truth be told, I congratulate you. 4 years, I congratulate you. But the enemy is gonna throw it up in your face because that's his job. That's his job. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to, you know what I'm saying? And I get, yeah. And I get it.
I want to break it, but I don't want to do it at the cost of what I used when it used to be a stronghold over me. Which is, you're just being meat, but at the end of the day, they don't care about you. They're not thinking about your well-being. They're not trying to date you. So when you spoke about those things, I was like, oh yeah, I was that piece of meat. But I came to the realization, I'm good enough to be meat, but I'm not good enough to be a girlfriend or a wife. So it was like, so I just stopped it all together and just like, God, I give it to you. You know I like to do it. You know I'm struggling, and I'm just gonna give this part to you. But it takes a lot of self-control and a lot of suppressing. But it is a legitimate need. I just don't want to get it illegitimately.
That's all. Two things. One, I love that this conversation just went full circle. So I don't know if you were here for the first couple of minutes in the conversation where Arica was talking about the sermon of the day being not to quit and how you don't have the spirit to quit. And we talked about that. Now we're talking about, that's amazing. I would say another thing too, just an anecdote about what you just said, is that sex is a lot different when someone loves you. It's like you're going to face issues, especially if you're not married. I deal with that now. When you get married, maybe when we make this decision, like we got a lot of things to work out before we are together for the rest of our life. But we're still working towards it. We're still building that gap. Sex is a lot different. A relationship is a lot different when you love somebody versus tolerating somebody versus using somebody versus someone's manipulating you to be with them. I've been in all types of relationship with people and women, and romantic, I'm not just talking about romantic, but also friendships, those kind of relationships. Everything that Arica said is completely true. Yeah. And, you know, you're not supposed to really break the celibacy. This is supposed to guide you to finding someone who's like you. You know, don't look for the people that you found before. Find a guy who's celibate like you. You know, there are other guys like that. There are a lot of dudes out there who they're Christian. They're strong Christian men in the faith who aren't just going to treat you that way. I think sometimes people feel like they're not the most attractive, but I don't really feel like they really give those guys enough of a chance. That if you meet a guy at a library, look for that. There's like this weird perception that people have over nice guys. And it's like they date assholes. They date dudes with felonies. They date guys that they know are going to ruin their fucking life. You know, so it's like if you are thinking about that, I wouldn't give it up for the sake of sex. I wouldn't give it up for the sake of loneliness.
Right.
Find the guy. Like because what I'm basically hearing from you is that, all right, I spent 4 years to myself. I spent 4 years raising my daughter. I spent 4 years in service to God. I spent 4 years giving to other people and giving myself. I know I'm a good woman. I know I'm beautiful. I know I'm attractive. I know what I could put down for somebody. What you should be praying for is your husband. Don't just be praying for sex. I think you're at the point now where you're ready to find your husband. You know,
I pray for my husband, but not just so he could come. I pray for his character.
Pray for him. He gotta be there for you to know his character.
Yeah, like I pray for his character. Like God, wherever he's at, wherever you have him, I just pray you continue to work on him. Like, because I know God is gonna present him in his time.
But make sure he's looking, because that was the major switch with me, was that I wanted to be a husband. I no longer had the satisfaction of just being a boyfriend or being someone's. I wanted to find a guy who because we act different, we behave different, our relationships are different, our mentality is different. Find a guy who wants to be a husband as well. Because if you find you shouldn't have to convince us.
Right.
It's like it might take a while for, if you guys got trauma, you guys get issues, it might take a while if you put a ring in your finger, then you're already abstaining, so continue to abstain. But find a guy who's telling you first and foremost, I'm looking to settle down. I'm looking to raise kids. I'm looking because there's other guys out. There's an entire. I just got done making an hour-long video before we did this, so I have a lot of these ideas in my head. There's an entire movement right now of men trying to convince men to have babies and not take care of them, to have sex with women, to be in hookup culture with women and abandon them. There's an entire mindset of this fake alpha male, fake red pill, whatever they call themselves, that really it's destructive to humanity. It's demonic. It's very evil. And you're going to find a lot of guys in that pickup culture or in that fake alpha male culture who are mentally and psychologically dead. They're listening to another man for advice about how to be miserable and how to be. Steer from that. Steer from guys who are just going to serve you aimlessly and not because you don't really want that either. Find a guy who just that's all. I'm repeating myself at this point, but I would say that'll be my major advice to any woman watching this as a man, as like a big brother type figure. Find the dude who wants to get married. Don't waste your time trying to convince a dude you're worthwhile. You know, because that's its own type of hell. You know, I can't imagine doing that.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate
That's it for. If you got any other ideas, Arica, I am done. I'm ready to. I gotta make dinner now. I'm making some late tonight, so I gotta start cooking, or else we ain't gonna eat tonight. All right. Any other thoughts?
I'm good. I'm good.
And I'm also going to be doing Women's History Month. So if either of you want to come back on for Women's History Month to talk to some other female authors, more than welcome. It's Black History Month, so I'm representing for our people today. Next month, we'll have a greater range of women. And thank you to anyone who joined us today. You two, please share this video with people too. Once you see it pop up on the tag you in it, please make sure that you promote it and market it too, or else no one's going to see this amazing conversation that we had. But other than that, thank you two so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank
Enjoy
you.
Sunday. Hope you learned something. I learned a lot from both of you, and I hope I was helpful and I wasn't just being a wolf in the conversation. But thank y'all. I'm about to end it now, so it's just gonna cut off like it did last time. I'm sorry, y'all.
All right. Have a good night. Bye bye.
Yeah.